Hi, Earlene.
Hey, how are
Hi.
you doing? Oh,
Good.
Earlene, so Toya C, you're Earlene.
Yeah.
Hey,
Hi.
you the one who literally had a truck drive through her house.
Yes. Semi.
A semi truck. What's a whole truck? If that's a semi, what's a whole one?
Right.
But thank you so much for coming on and talking to us. Um, definitely. Before we get going, want to I guess everybody introduce themselves so we know who we're talking to. Start with myself. I am Randolph Love the Third. I'm going to be hosting, moderating the Florida Wealth Strategist. And please, everybody else, introduce yourselves, and we're going to talk about the mysterious case of Earlene Carr.
Hi, Ian Rupert, public adjuster here in Oklahoma and Florida.
Darren Hoggett with Upward Business Consulting.
Okay. And I know we have the man from Iowa, Caden on the line. There you go, the
What's
man
up?
from Iowa.
There he is.
Before I ever met Caden, his reputation preceded himself.
Oh
Got
boy.
it. And I see someone else on. Are you familiar with Casimir? Ian? How you doing, Casimir? Oh,
Hey,
what's going on, Casey?
hey, Ram, what's up,
Oh,
buddy?
that's your real
There he
name,
What's
is.
up,
Casimir.
Ian? What's up, Ian? What's up,
Man,
everybody?
Hey,
we got some heavy hitters on today. All
yeah,
Hey,
right, so
great.
I'm glad we having because we definitely have Miss Carr on the line. Thank you so much for allowing us to talk about what you're dealing with because I know it's still going on. Is that not right?
Yes, you're correct. We're kind of, I guess, at the end of the process of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much, right now I am in basically fighting the trucking company now,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah.
Mm-hmm. So what I like to, start from the beginning because a home is for a lot of people one of the biggest investments that they ever make in their lives. Is this the first home that you've bought?
It well, no, actually it's a little crazy, my situation. Actually I had just went through a divorce maybe about a year and a
Mm-hmm.
half prior. So I had moved back from San Antonio to Oklahoma. My family is all here. So when I moved back, I had moved back to these townhomes, and I'm a nurse. So I just kind of, after going through a divorce, something traumatic like that, you got to rebuild and get everything together.
Mm-hmm.
Um, After doing that, maybe a year and a half, I decided to buy my house, my
Mm-hmm.
first house, me and my children. So it took me a year and a half. It took me a while to find the house, but I love the house. The house had everything I wanted in it.
Mm-hmm.
So this was in December of 19.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and of course, the pandemic hit about March, 3, 4 months later. So everybody can imagine where y'all's minds were. It's already, hard. You can't be around family. You're worried about your jobs. We were all stressing at that time already, going through a lot. That was in March. And so August of 2020, that's when the semi truck, it came off the turnpike, in the back of my home. It hit my dining room area. Can't recall how big big, but it hit my home or whatever. It was not livable. Um, so yeah, it was a very traumatizing time to only 8 months in my home. I just
Mm-hmm.
got divorced. I worked hard to get that house.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going through a pandemic. We can't see our families. We're away. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, now my house got hit.
Yeah.
What, it's crazy. So, and, nobody was around anybody. We are all masked up, So, and then it was unlivable. So I had to go to a hotel. And you would think that process would have been hard, So I'm grateful that I had iron because just the traumatizing part of it, of already getting hit, now I have to ask, is somebody gonna find a place for me to go? You know, this is before the hotel even came. And so just to ask to he had to demand for shelter for me. You know,
Yeah.
who has to do that? That doesn't make sense. You hit my house, you know? So it took almost a week for them to start covering for me to stay in a hotel, you know? That alone, you know, I have my 2 kids. I got to go to a hotel, but people don't think you have to go to a hotel. All these strangers are around, you know, are people wanting
access to your room.
Yeah. Not just that, but it's COVID going on. At that time, COVID was skyrocketing, you know. So if you touch a surface, you got to go outside your room. You got to go get food, you know, you got to go wash outside your room. This is not my comfort of my home, you know. So I'm around all strangers. You know, my kids got to go out. They got to get to school, but we got to go around all these people. So it was just a totally different world for us, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I can imagine, because I think a lot of us, even the people on this call, you imagine buying a brand new car and then it getting a hit. Now imagine buying a brand new house and then it getting hit, right? So Ian, when you encountered Earlene, like, where was she in the process? Like, was it one of those things to where you like, all right, this is typical? Was there nothing special or unique about her case that you observed?
I was there the day the truck hit. I was there within an hour, about an hour after it hit.
How does that happen?
Well, that's a crazy story. I got a client of mine. He referred the next door owner had called him for advice, and that ended up in a referral because he called my client, and my client sent me out there. So I actually had went out there for the next door neighbor, and Earlene was on site when we got there. And I think Doreen talked to her first, if I remember correctly.
So
Yeah,
who approached you?
It was surreal.
Who approached you?
I think I might have went to talk to him. I think I was talking to his wife first, but it was so much going on. You got to think it was cops around, it was fire trucks, it was just chaotic, you know, it was a mess. And so that I really couldn't tell you, but I'm pretty sure I talked to his wife first before I talked to him because I was trying to get a hold of my insurance. You don't know what to do when something like that happens, you know?
Yeah, it was just a crazy ordeal. Like everyone was still shook up. I mean, it was a thing. Like it was a real thing. There was a 158 square foot hole in her house. I have pictures actually too. So, I mean, it's that, and next door, the whole front of it got blown off. The garage got just plowed through. I mean, there were bricks and debris and everything. The semi truck was still over there. I think they brought an enormous tow truck. I mean, it was all happening while I was there.
Got it. Hey, so Kate and Casey, have y'all ever experienced anything like that? Like what Earlene experienced, to where somebody had a semi truck driving to their home?
No semi trucks.
No semi trucks. Trees.
Yeah,
I've had damage like that caused by trees. Where we basically totaled the structure because of the way that it shifted from the loads.
So Ian, did you have to treat this? Because I think most public adjusters will be able to relate to a tree falling onto a dwelling and causing. So did you treat this, even though of course the narrative of a big semi truck, did you treat it as if a tree fell onto the home as far as your method of repair and your estimate?
No, it was more serious and more in depth. I did a very thorough investigation of both properties. I actually had 3 claims from that same event, all 3 properties. And the day that I got there, I started taking pictures and I started investigating. Earlene was voicing how she's having trouble getting a hold of her insurance company. They're very small, and I need to make this clear, you know, as we talk about Farmers, it's not Farmers Insurance Group, it's Farmers
Fire safety.
Farmers Mutual Fire Insurance Company out of Okarche, Oklahoma, and I don't even think I know what that was until this claim. So
it's not the people who commercial we see.
No, no, this is an insurance company I'd never heard of. They're very, very small, but they've been in business like 100 years or something. Um, it's, I think they might be part of a larger organization, but I'm not sure even about that. Their home office is in Okarchi. They don't have very many cases or claims. Like Earlene's claim is a big deal for them.
Okay.
And I think
whereas the ones we see on the TV might be the landowners, these farmers might be the sharecroppers.
well, I mean, I think they insure like oil rigs and stuff like that out in Okarchi somewhere and out in very rural Oklahoma. And they might even have one or two agents. But I mean, if you look at their website, you're like, this is an insurance company website. I mean, you get that feeling like it is really small. So
and Earlene, typically when, I guess when you buy a home, one of the things at title is you got to present your insurance, right? And usually like, all right, find me the best price. Was that how you chose your insurance carrier? Find me the best price?
It was, and it was also, I think too, the previous owners was connected with them as well.
Okay.
And so, I know that they've taken care of other repairs before, that was the main reason of it, and especially where my house was located, finding reasonable insurance too. So yeah.
Yeah, so you were referred in. So instead of a iron, do we have any pictures of because I'm pretty sure it's not as big as y'all making it seem. It probably was just like a small impact to one of the elevations, maybe a slight shifting of the brick. That's what I'm thinking. Let's see. Oh, okay. So yeah, it looks like a low speed impact, right? Or maybe not. Were you in the house, Earlene?
No, thankfully I was not. We had just left maybe 20 minutes prior to the truck hitting, and you can actually see in the first picture we were sitting there eating right there in the dining room 20 minutes prior. And my daughter wanted to go swim at the pool, and so we had left to go let her swim at the pool. As soon as we got there, my alarm started going off, and so I had to rush back.
And I bet when she was first asking, Mom, let's go to the pool, you're like, oh, here we go.
I did not, but I'm so grateful that we did. Yes.
That was the amazing thing about this whole ordeal is no one was injured. I mean, the driver, I think he did go to the hospital, but my understanding is he just fell asleep at the wheel. And so no one, to my knowledge, was injured, definitely not severely or anything like that. None of the owners, none of the occupants. So it was turned out as best as possible as far as human life and pets and that kind of thing.
Earlene, have you never filed the homeowners claims before?
No, I have not.
So most people are under the impression that, okay, I pay for insurance, I file a claim, I get it taken care of, and they don't even consider hiring help. What gave you, were there no indicators to you like, okay, I think I'm gonna need help on this? Because I know you say you didn't know what to do at first, but it seemed like it came into your head that at the very least you need to call the insurance company. What made you think from day one, seems like, that you needed expert help?
I think it was a really God thing, to be honest with you, because if it would have I got a hold of my insurance, it would have been terrible. There's no way I would have been able to make it through it after actually getting past this process and getting a hold of them. But to be honest, I think it was a God thing because I couldn't get a hold of them. I contacted them. I contacted my insurance agent. My insurance agent was directing me different ways. You my insurance agent, help something. But I couldn't get a hold of them. I didn't get a hold of anyone until that Monday. It happened on a Saturday. And so with me meeting Ian, I'm like, what do I do? Like, I am traumatized. I got a big old hole in my house. I can't stay here. Everything is off, you know? So what do I do with this? It was about to rain that Monday. So I'm like, okay, my house is just going to be rained in, you know? And he was just like, well, I have people, I'll have them go ahead and board it up. You can deal with your insurance stuff later. I didn't get a hold of my insurance until 4 o'clock on that Monday. Why? Like, why? And so when I finally got a hold of them, I had already signed with IN and everything. And so when I told them, hey, I've been trying, and I'm just like, finally I got a hold of you, and I'm trying to explain to them, hey, this has happened, and when I told them about IN, they were like, oh, we can't talk to you anymore.
Wow.
Well,
They took the extreme position of refusing to speak with her because I was involved.
So Ian, walk us through this, because like you say, that is an extreme position, because we all understand that when an insured has an attorney, okay, yeah, you talk to the attorney, but it seems like they made a conscious decision once they knew that she had somebody who knew what they were doing. All right, we don't even want to talk to you.
They said they could not talk to her. In fact, this particular policy contains like a provision about it, I think, where they deal only with the public adjuster if there's one involved.
Okay.
And but most carriers, if their customer, the person they have a contract with, gets a call from the insured looking for some help, they at least answer her questions, and they respond. They don't, tell her, hey, we can't even talk to you at all. I mean, as a public adjuster, I would prefer that all communications go with me, of course. But if my insured has been traumatized and it has a serious loss and they have a quick question or whatever, and they feel the need to call the carrier to at least get them on the phone, then I think that they should, take a few minutes to respond to it. So
walk us through this, Ian, and from when Darren, the one, responsible, insisting in this immaculate complaint that I read, please, like, walk us through, how did you go from where y'all were, you first meeting Earlene, to walking onto this, to getting the complaint in? Let's follow it, and you take us down the narrative with your documentation that you have.
Okay. So here's like a real quick one-page summary of the entire claim. And it outlines the payments.
Any way it can be a little bigger?
Yeah. And that's where, because I can't see what you guys see. So tell me, what I can do is also switch it to the other screen.
I think that's what
seems like it's like
do.
on a cell phone view.
Okay. So let me switch the screens real quick. Okay, that should be, there we go. Can y'all see that better?
Oh yeah, better.
Okay, cool. So, the date of loss is right here. It's August 8th of 2020. The amount that we asked for in the proof of loss package, actual cash value, was $136,850. And so one of the things I wanted to point out is that after 2 years in the appraisal process, they ended up paying more than what we asked for. So, that's first off problem. And then you look at all these payment dates, look how many payments there are and this timing of them. It's just this whole thing dragged out and dragged out. I had to send numerous correspondence in. The proof of loss package, let me see if I can pull that up real quick. Yeah, it's in the complaint. I'm getting a little used to the Zoom part of this. So we got, yeah, so here's the proof of loss package. It was submitted May 16th, and that's after all of my investigation was complete. We hired an engineer, multiple inspections. I mean, this thing was looked at really thoroughly. And what ended up happening, if you kind of look at the timelines and you walk through it, is the carrier didn't really, other than meeting out for an inspection, didn't really do much investigating at all until after the proof of loss package was done. And I mean, you guys are professionals. You handle claims all the time. The carriers, and you tell me if I'm wrong, but the carriers on a serious claim like fires, and I mean, certainly on a claim with the 158 square foot hole, would start their investigation as soon as she called it in. Like it should have been, they should have been out there. They should have written an estimate. They should have, you know, issued any undisputed payments, but no, that didn't happen. So we're at May 16th. Oh, that's the supplement. God, sorry about that, guys. Let me pull this up. Hang on. What page is that? This thing is really long.
So, Caden, Kaysen, I know we have somebody else, I think, in. So is that typical what Ian is saying, that if it's a claim that size, they're not going to wait for you to submit your claim package? They're going to start their investigation, the carrier?
In my opinion, they should start investigating. You know, they may not, depending on the state, have an obligation to. You know, some states require, you know, upon notice that they conduct an inspection within a certain amount of time. But a lot of states don't require that. You know, you can make the argument all day long that they should, and it's common practice and it's a sign of good faith to go out and conduct an investigation prior to receiving what constitutes a properly executed proof of loss. But that's definitely going to be a state by state thing.
So I've got the proof of loss package pulled up here. It was September 7th is when that was submitted. The claim, the date of loss was August 8th. So I had the proof of loss package done within a month or so.
Yeah.
And
that's reasonable for a claim that size, seems like.
No, that's
yeah, and that's including with an engineer being involved and all of that.
That's fast.
So, I mean, this proof of loss package is 278 pages. And so it has like the Eagle view. It's got the packing. I mean, I included everything, invoices. This is one that Chad Williams with Valor helped us out on. He was excellent and very thorough. Here's his report where it starts. I mean, it's just the whole thing with this claim, and what prompted the complaint is from the very beginning, especially when you know there's a trucking company involved and they're responsible for this loss. Farmers knew they were going to need to subrogate, and they would, and they are now subrogating. Instead of taking the approach, hey, let's work together, let's inspect together, let's have all the engineers meet, let's have, you know, let's coordinate, let's do this jointly, let's make sure that we're not killing each other's cases. That's not how this went. They took the opposite approach of, we're going to fight everything. Now, I have to give credit where credit is due. Farmers did not fight on the contents. And once I stepped in, they did issue payments for her loss of use. But for the dwelling part of it, it was the complete opposite. The adjuster wrote a very low estimate. I think it was like $28,000, and that's for everything. Other structures, the foundation, the roof, the wall, the windows, the flooring, all of it. And I was just like, they hired an engineer after our engineer, and he just wrote this really horrible report. Just, that's my opinion. It has so many holes in it and so much problems. I don't understand how they're going to have a problem subrogating with their own report. It's just there's so much on this claim. I'm trying not to get too far ahead of myself, but I mean,
and you seem even more, you know, because I'm sure Earlene has had a couple years to you know, get over a lot of stuff that she's dealt with, but you seem even more upset than she is at this moment. What's the reason for that?
Well, I could show you guys. I have written, I can't even recall how many letters it is in
Wow.
correspondence, but I wrote, can y'all see that?
Yeah.
Okay, this is my claim file. I mean, there's 322 items in here. Now, not all of those are correspondence, but I mean, there's just so much that, like at the beginning, I'll show you guys that. I had to send a letter just for them to admit liability and open coverage for her loss of use. I was like, what are y'all doing? Demand for coverage. I think I created this letter just for this claim. I was like, why am I having to demand coverage when there's a freaking hole in a house where the truck is on site and I send you a picture of it? Like, I don't get it. Like, it just doesn't even make sense. Like, how do you handle claims like that? The first letter I sent was a contact package here, and I even gave them, I went meticulously and found the police report, you know, from the loss report. It's not a full report, but it had all the contact information so they could open subrogation and get the other carrier involved. And they didn't even get them out on site. To this day, I don't think the third-party liability company ever inspected. You know, maybe that's not so uncommon, but I mean, I sent them these pictures. Here's the truck from the date of the loss. They got that 2 days after.
Insulation still on the hood.
Yes, yes, and those scrapes are from scraping properties and causing damage. I mean, it's just, I don't know. What I don't understand to this day is why they fought so hard when they're going to be subrogating. It just makes no sense. Why would you create your own defense to me and then go into court 2 years later and say, oh, you owe us all the money that we paid out? Well, now you're creating your own problem.
And that word subrogation, I don't know if a lot of people understand what subrogation is. It's basically you going through your insurance company, they paying for everything initially, and then you giving them the right to go after whoever the liable party is for their money. And what you're saying is, why are you fighting this when you obviously are going to get reimbursed by some other body's insurance?
That was how I approached the claim from the beginning, and they just weren't having it. And I don't understand, because my claim file's evidence, their claim file's evidence. Why would they want evidence of us fighting instead of us, coming to a reasonable outcome? And then now we're helping each other, we would be cooperating. But that hasn't happened. Earlene has had to file her own lawsuit because no one trusts farmers or their attorneys at this point to pursue her rights favorably and with due diligence. And so Earlene has her own case. Farmers has their own case. And it's just, why? It makes no sense to me at all. That whole thing is completely mind-boggling. I understand having a little bit of disagreement, or maybe the scopes, maybe they didn't want to replace every single thing that I had in my estimate, but golly,
So are we to the complaint at this point, or is there something else that happened prior to you submitting that complaint that you had to send on Earlene's behalf, or that you assisted Earlene with getting together?
So, of course, the complaint, I don't know if you guys are aware, but the complaint package was written to not only the Oklahoma Department of Insurance, but also the Professional Engineering Board. We call it PELS. And the reason is there is serious evidence of improper collusion between the adjuster, the field adjuster, and the engineer. And so I'm happy to pull that up so you guys can see it. I mean, there's so much we could talk about in this claim. We could probably talk about it all night, but I like to keep it kind of focused on the complaint part and, how we got there, why we had to do it, that kind of thing. But I'm happy to answer any kind of questions about it.
Yeah, because I think that's for the people who are viewing this, not just homeowners like Earlene, but also professionals in our industry. one of the differentiators, I think, between a public adjuster, just saber rattling threats of war, and somebody who's actually say, all right, we give you every opportunity, now file a complaint. Some people are scared to file a complaint, from my experience. I think it'll be good to see the complaint, see how you and Darren looked at it, and see what support and documentation you used in order to back up that complaint.
So we'll go with the complaint here. I've got it pulled up. Darren did a really good job of putting this complaint letter together. We definitely worked on it, both, and the insured also had some input into it. And of course, it's actually the insured's complaint. It's not a complaint from me. It's not a complaint from Darren. It's a complaint from the insured. She wanted to file it, and this is really important. She wanted to file the complaint, even knowing that we're not asking for farmers to come in and pay us a lot of extra money. Like, that's not why the complaint was filed. It was filed because of some statutory violations that we found, as well as, like I said, there's improper collusion going on. There's, in my opinion, some very unprofessional and unethical things were done on the other side of the fence, and we wanted to document those. Okay. And so that's what this complaint kind of gets into. And it's actually, we have this first page here is the complaint to the Department of Insurance. It kind of spells out the summary of the claim, that there's a 158 square foot hole and all of these things were damaged. It goes in, it tells you the timeline that everything happened. Well, we didn't cover everything in the claim, but we gave a pretty good summary of how this thing went.
So is it not a good frame to write a complaint to answer the who, what, when, where, and how? Is that how y'all look at it when assisting?
Darren, that was kind of this is your format. So
I looked at it as, what is the timeline? I want to show those timelines, because in statute you have those specific timelines to follow, and where those were being violated. And then like I was saying, with all the ethical violations, the collusions that were not proper, the collusion issues were major when it came to the engineer. So again, I look at the complaints that I file as something that's going to protect future people being insured and the current insured, to make sure they're not going to get bamboozled. I was going to use the word screwed, but I don't know if that's proper, in future transactions, because it's not necessarily even my goal to punish, if you would, the insurance company or the engineer or anything else, but get them back on track with following the law that's there. So no one's like Earlene sitting back and going, where do I live? How do I get paid for the hotel? What do I do? And then if you've got $100,000 loss and you're going to get 50,000, how do I recoup the rest of that? Because it's truly due me. And so by doing the complaints, it lines all of that out in the timelines and the violations that are there, that proves that negligence on the insurance company's part was there that needs to be corrected.
So what are you looking for when you're about to start assisting with a complaint? What are the key important factors that you need to know?
I go through every piece of evidence that's provided to me from Ian, which is not just his proof of loss, but it's the insurance company's paperwork as well, to where I can see where their estimations are, where his estimations are, if there's an engineer involved, what their estimations are. And I just kind of start putting things together. And truthfully, by following the timelines, it literally falls into place. Mm-hmm. So it's a matter of just putting it in a chronological order a lot of times, and then going, okay, here's where those things are. Here's how they need to be addressed.
And
here's
Earlene,
an idea.
Oh yeah, and Earlene, we're very used to this. I know Casey, Caden, Ian. We used to seeing all of this paperwork. When you saw all of these pages of document, did you think, oh my God, like what's wrong with me? What's wrong with my house? What's wrong with my insurance company?
Oh yeah, I definitely like, I still kind of, I don't understand a lot of it. Like you asked me about GI, I know GI, okay, gastro. And when it comes to that area, I don't have a clue. So I called Ian on so much, what is this? What is it? And I think that was a lot of the overwhelming part because I didn't know half of what was what. And so yeah, definitely.
And that's one of the things that us as public adjusters talk about. When you look in your duties after a loss section in your policy, it says that you, Earlene, are supposed to be the one that puts together all of these documents and subsequent complaints and reach out to all of these specialists. It seems like this isn't nothing that you could have just did off a whim.
No. There's no way. I wouldn't have known the first thing to do, the first step to take. No.
Got it. So Ian, all right, so where we're at now with what's going on?
Well, I wanted to point out this complaint was filed July 29th of 2022. We gave the carrier every, and when I say every, I mean every opportunity to fix their situation, to fix this claim and get us out of their hair and moving on and moving forward. And they, to this day, no. And we could go through here and look at, what are the violations and what happened. But for example, now over 600 days post loss, appraisal continued into April of 2022. I mean, that's not Earlene's fault. That's not our fault. Well, whose fault is it? Well, the insurance company, because if they would have paid properly, we wouldn't even have to go into appraisal. And we're not the ones that demanded it. The carrier demanded it.
And Darren, is that something that you do intentionally? Are you doing that methodically throughout your entire complaint, pointing out this date and how many days post loss that you are?
Yeah, because that's a big part of the statutes for Oklahoma are the time frames. For example, on down in that same report that Ian's got pulled up when it talks about the violations, one of the very first ones I point out is a 30-day time frame. And here it is now, we're at 600 plus days. Where are those time frames and what's happened to them and how can they be corrected for the future? So I mean, that's one of the big things I want to point out is here's where the proof is, here's how the time frames are, and it's just totally being ignored at that point. Ian, on this particular one, Ian did all the work for them. He had all the contact information. He had everything they needed to literally kind of do like a self-examination even and go, this is where we are. And it took them over 600 days, 700 days. No, it's not right.
Now, to this day, Rand, I have never received one dispute on any line item in that proof of loss. And it's well over 2 years.
Yeah.
And in Oklahoma, 60 days is what they get to answer every line item. That never happened. It hasn't happened, and they won't do it.
Never got the refusals of the claim or anything.
So some people will come and say, all right, you wrote this complaint. You're a public adjuster. You're not supposed to put statutes, state statutes in your complaint letter. That's UPL. That's unlicensed practice of law. Is there nothing that you say to that, Ian?
I think that's completely wrong. Well, first of all, this isn't my complaint. It's the insured's complaint. She signed it. She adopted it. Darren helped write it. I also contributed. But statutes are for everybody. If we can't read and write a statute that is literally codified and we're supposed to know, that's crazy. And I would say that imposes on someone's free speech rights. I don't see how they can make that argument. Now, if you're going to say, interpret case law and write those interpretations and say, this is the gospel on what that case and that judge, how they ruled and why, and you're going to go and put it in a formal letter and sign off on that, then maybe there's a case to be made for UPL, but not when you're just quoting the statutes. Everybody's supposed to know them. The carrier's supposed to know them, the insureds, the DOI, everybody's supposed to know them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and again, I think it comes down to, this is Earlene's complaint that we assisted with. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not even coming from me as an outside party.
Mm-hmm.
It's not coming from Ian as one involved. It's coming from Earlene on this one. So
Mm-hmm. And if somebody needed, because once again, that's the purpose. Earlene already said if it was up to her to put together this package, it probably would have never gotten done. So you need assistance. If somebody else needed assistance on putting together a package like this, are you not available, Darren?
that is what I do for Ian all the time.
Got it.
So yes, I would make myself available.
I would also point out, Rand, that, as a public adjuster, since we are licensed, we have a carve out from UPL for our area of expertise.
Mm-hmm.
And these statutes are not all the statutes in Oklahoma. They're very small section of the statutes, and they deal specifically with claims. So there's also that reason as to why it wouldn't be UPL. So even if I created the complaint, I wrote everything, and Earlene didn't have anything to do with it, and I signed off on it, it wouldn't be UPL in this case. But that's not what happened here. We assisted, she signed it, she adopted it. So
and Casey, are you in Minnesota? Is it Minnesota or Illinois? Where is it?
No, sir, just north of Chicago, Illinois.
Okay, so how do y'all feel about putting statutes in complaints? It's because just like Ian saying, in Florida, it's a carve out for us, and I actually have documentation that points out exactly what UPL is, and us stating statutes does not fall under that. How does Illinois treat that?
I agree with that too. We don't get too much into the weeds in this. Anytime I feel like I'm getting out of my lane, we just refer it to legal.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as filing complaints, again, legal's given us the links to go directly to the DOI. And once I get the DOI involved, I usually have pretty good luck. So yeah, I agree with everything that you guys did here, 100%.
Caden, how are they treating it in Iowa with complaints?
What do you mean specifically with complaints?
So
Like,
are you citing statutes, and do you feel comfortable doing that? And the reason I'm bringing up, because I know a lot of people who just don't feel comfortable.
yeah, so the insurance division in Iowa actually requests that we point out which which sections of the Unfair Claims Settlement Practices Act we feel have been violated. So yeah, in pretty much every complaint, we are quoting specifically which statutes we believe the insurance company is in breach of.
Got it. So all the public adjusters listening or watching, don't be scared to utilize your license and help your clients like Earlene. So Ian, is there something else? Is there a question that I should be asking that I did not ask about what's going on and where y'all are at with this?
Well, I kind of wanted to go into a little bit of detail about these specific violations. That way, if you guys are having the same problems on your claim, and certainly Earlene, I'm sure she's been through this. She's lived this. This is what caused her claim to take so long, were things like this. Okay. If you guys can prevent it on the front end, you might save an insured from having these particular headaches. So, like for example, one of the big deals in this claim right here, John Miller with Western Claims here in Oklahoma, in their own document, their own report to farmers. I was privy to that report because farmers forwarded it to me. In that their own words wrote, "We have not discussed our totals with the public adjuster, nor have we made efforts to settle the claim." And that is October 28th, 2020. And this claim happened August 8th. And I think that is a we never, almost never, do we have a carrier admit to not making any efforts. Like, that's what it's like. We live in, the earth's flat, the sky's purple land. I mean, if you file a claim, aren't you supposed to make an effort? Like, those are their words. I didn't put those words in their mouth. They did. They wrote that to their two farmers. And that is 100% true. That was my experience on site. And I don't even have to be like, hey, Your Honor, they didn't make any effort to settle. I didn't have to do that. Here, they admitted. They have freely admitted not to make any efforts. It's just, that sums up how we have been treated. This insured, my office, everybody on the insured side, this is how we've been treated since the beginning of this claim.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And like you said, because you mentioned it, you said it kind of quickly, but at least as of right now, you do have, I guess, over 6 figures from the carrier after 2 years in appraisal and all of that. How do you feel right now, Earlene? Like, do you feel, okay, at least I'm able to get some semblance of regular life, or do you still feel put out?
Oh, I still feel put out. I just try to kind of, like, just talking about it now is just kind of like, it's
Bringing back the emotion.
It is, because I know what me and my kids been through. It was a struggle. I don't think people, you don't sit in somebody else's life of how it looks and how it feels, but this is something I had to hear about every day, 2 years. People think it's something, that should be taken care of in people's minds. Yeah, that's something it was clear, but to hear about it every day at work, or somebody seeing it on the news, or something, or just paying 2 house payments for 8-9 months. For why do I have to do that? It was so traumatizing that you wouldn't think anybody would ever have to go through something like this. I didn't drive into my own house, so yeah, just thinking about it now, no, I do not feel. I felt like they felt me from the beginning. Mm-hmm. They didn't try, so.
And you are unique, believe it or not, or well, of course you're a unique person, right? But as far as the claim is concerned, one of the theories that people say is you, the homeowner, should try to handle your claim at first. And if and when you get denied or substantially lowballed, that's when you bring somebody in like Ian. Do you regret having them from the very beginning? Do you not regret that?
No, I do not. No, I wouldn't have. No, there was no way. Just how everything started, and I wouldn't have made it to the first step. No, I wouldn't have known. And I wouldn't have known any different. That's what it is. That's the damage. You don't know things in depth of how much damage it is and what was done and what am I supposed to do, or, just anything. I could have been caught up anyway and wouldn't have even known. So.
Got it.
And not to put words in her mouth, but think about too, it was 2-3 days before she was even able to get a hold of the insurance company. So if I hadn't been there, she wouldn't have had her house covered up with the tarps and protected from the weather or anything else, because the insurance company failed from day one of notification. They never even called her back.
I called Michael Donnarumma, who's not with us anymore, and he dropped everything he was doing, and he was out there overnight building a wall so that house didn't turn into a total loss. Yeah, it would have with the weather, but we were on it, and he took really good care of Earlene. He did a fantastic job. That wall stood up until the time she sold it.
And the way I like to describe it is, everybody might not remember the first, like the actual experiences of learning to drive, but most people remember their feelings. They remember like the excitement mixed with the anxiousness. And usually when people first learn to drive, they might drive in the neighborhood, or they might drive in a grocery parking lot, and then eventually make their way to the main street of the neighborhood. and then eventually make their way to getting onto the on-ramp of a highway, right? All of them very, very anxious, very exciting, but very scary. Hands at 10 and 2. And filing an insurance claim is like telling somebody that just started learning how to drive on the first day to get into a NASCAR race. You're dealing with people who've been driving cars for centuries. They know they got their arm out the window, hand on the top of the wheel, and you still at 10 and 2. You need to have somebody that knows how to drive like Ian, I'm sorry. Somebody that knows how to drive like Caden, somebody that knows how to drive like Casey, like Darren, like myself. So I'm glad that you've met Ian. I'm glad that you met Darren. And I'm glad that they not only assisted you up until now to where you have something, but now going for all that you're supposed to get.
Yes, and thank you guys. You did an amazing job. I appreciate every step of the way. I really wouldn't have, because like I said, it was a mess from the beginning. So I think, like I said, it was really a God thing, because it wouldn't have happened that way. I know it wouldn't have.
And one last thing, Earlene, when there's a lot of talk going on about public adjusters and how maybe we are people who should not be involved in a claim because a homeowner knows what they're doing and we're the ones making the claim convoluted and complex. Do you not agree with that?
My case, it was needed. I believe you're needed. Like I said, throughout my case, I wouldn't have made it. I wouldn't even know where to go or what to do or how to even get through it. So yes,
thank you. I appreciate it. All right, everybody, please say who you are, what you do, and how to get in touch. Thank you so much, Earlene. Who are you? What are you doing? How to get in touch? Everybody on this call.
Ian Rupert, public adjuster, Oklahoma and Florida. You can reach me at 405-928-0587 anytime you have a loss.
Darren Hoggett with Upward Business Consulting. Don't even know who I own, what business I own. Upward Business Consulting, phone number 405-863-7115, and I can assist you with your complaints as well.
Casey Caden.
Casey Cabasco, covered public adjuster, Chicago, Illinois, 815-355-0748 or at coveredclaim.com.
See, that's that Iowa technology.
Yeah, Iowa technology. Caden Tinklenberg, Swift Public Adjusters, pretty much the entire Midwest we're licensed in, and phone number 866-SWIFT-PA.
And I am Randolph Love III, the Florida Wealth Strategist. I help public adjusters and insurance restoration professionals have the option of retiring comfortably in 10 to 15 years or less. I want to thank everybody, especially Earlene, for sharing her story, and everybody for sharing their insight. Ian for getting on it from day one. Darren for putting the who, what, when, where, and why on paper. And thank you so much for spending this time, everybody.
Hey, Rand, you did miss Lucas.
Oh, I can't even see Lucas, man. I think Lucas wasn't on camera. Oh, hey. Lucas, hey man, how you doing, man? I apologize.
There you are.
Where's Randolph?
Hey, Lucas, man, please tell, I didn't even see you on, Lucas. Please tell people who you are, what you're doing, and how they can get in touch.
Absolutely. My name is Lucas Zupan. I do basically the documentation for any types of losses like this. We're a third-party company, 3D Tours, Oklahoma. You can find my number on 3dtoursok.com. We basically just go out as soon as we can, close to a loss, and we do the documentation and as well as taking measurements, converting to ESX files and stuff like that. So we work with Matterport and the like to do third-party documentation.
Oh man, we got to have you on later because Matterport got a lot of competition coming out nowadays. All
Yeah,
right,
there's a lot of other platforms too.
absolutely.
Do you also do moisture mapping, Lucas?
Not currently, but we're looking into that.
Well, who
Hey,
asked?
there you go. Yeah, we did the tours for these properties too.
Oh, you did this.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Oh man. So all right. So I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna have to have you on again, Lucas, to get more because I think a lot of public adjusters and homeowners can utilize the services that you offer.
Absolutely, I appreciate it.
All right, y'all. Ian, any last words?
Just want to shout out to you guys. I really appreciate you showing up tonight. And Earlene, I know you've been through a lot. I'm so glad you trusted me with your claim. And I look forward to helping you in the future if needed. And thanks, guys, for being on. You're fantastic.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks
Have
for
a
the
good
invite.
night.